So it's no easy discussion talking about creativity with an artist as we're coming from such diverse roles. But I definitely want to ask Sue, how do you define creativity?
It's quite funny. I was sitting here making some notes at the back earlier on, and I looked at that question and I just thought the first word that came to mind was exhausting. I don't know where it came from.
That theme.
How do I define creativity? It's exhausting. I suppose everybody else feels exhausted in whatever they do, but I just found it's like I don't know how to do anything else. It was. It's often like I feel like I was born with a burden that I just can't ever escape. I always thought there might be something wrong with me when I was growing up. That I just was not I wasn't content with anything, like my brother and sister. Why me? I'm the one in the middle. Was there something wrong with me when I was born? How I look at the world through different eyes. I am never satisfied with anything. Every I wake up in the morning and there's always I'm always questioning and challenging. My hair, I cut myself, my clothes, I can't find anything that I want to buy in the shop, so I sort of have to customize everything myself. I'm building my second house, which is exhausting, but I just, and every aspect of it is like completely unique and different.
And the first house was pretty insane.
And the first house is pretty insane as well. Yeah, and it's like everything you touch, you just cannot. You're just always pushing it to the furthest point and testing yourself as an individual. You're testing your your personality, I suppose. Yeah. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Actually, I loved, although I might be taking us slightly, of course, but I did love hearing from you when you came to London and to the Salci Gallery. What a big inspiration that was for you as well, to really be an artist and live here.
Yeah, well, I wasn't born and raised in London. I was, as you know, me and Shani share a football fetish. I found out that Philips have a table in the executive box at Chelsea. Not being a Chelsea fan, but whenever Leicester City are playing Chelsea, I know who to ring.
Absolutely. Keep calling.
This is really good information.
Whoops. So I was born and raised in Leicester, and then I went to art school in Nottingham, and for some reason was not at all interested in moving south to London, and so I kept going north. I don't know, I had this thing, I just want to keep going north. So born in Leicester, went to art college in Nottingham, and then moved to Bradford in West Yorkshire because it was cheap to live after that. I don't know why. But then kept thinking that they'll come and discover. I was obviously living with Tim at the time, and we just thought, well, I don't need to go to London. They'll come up north and they'll discover us. But of course, they didn't. I was sat there waiting for 3 years. Well, it happened to the music scene in Manchester. I thought it was going to happen to us up in Bradford, but no. But word filtered up north, like a few weeks later, that somebody had put a shark in a tank. And it was like, what? While we were like welding scraps of metal together, thinking that this was it, somebody had actually like completely floored it and put a shark in a tank. And I thought, well, I've got to travel down to London to see that. So we did. We went in our camper van. The engine blew up halfway, but and then we hitchhiked the rest of the way from Newport Pagnell service station, and made it to Boundary Road, is it? And the pilgrimage, and saw that shark in the tank. And I must admit, it was like somebody kicking me in the stomach. It was just like the wake up call I needed, and I just thought, that's it. I need to move to London. It was seeing something like that. You don't see art that blows your mind very often, but that I do thank Damien for doing that. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be living in London.
we'd be much poorer for it. But nice thing is we are friends, but we come from really different sectors in the market. And obviously, at an auction house, you are, you're driving prices. You are often staging sales that are difficult for artists to control, and there is a big art market out there continuously, and I am just wondering how tough that is when you're an artist and creating as you are.
what impact is the art market and all its trappings having on creativity?
That's what I was trying to say. That one.
I think going back to the early days, you know, I was come from quite a working class background. My dad was an electrician, and so money was always a very important thing in our family. You know, I didn't, when I met Tim at art school, he came from an art family where, you know, they were just bohemian and they didn't think about money, you know, but we were just brought up to, like, you know, my dad worked really hard. We weren't allowed to watch the telly when we came home from school. We had to get on with our homework because we needed to get out of the life that we were born into and my dad was always trying to make a better life for us. So money was a very important thing. And of course, when I turned around and says I'm going to art school, there was like, there's no job in that. You know, it was like, can't you go and be a teacher or something? And it was like, well, there was no future in being an artist when I, you know, back then, 20 odd years ago, there were no role models. You know, there was no YBA explosion. There was nothing. There was, all we had to look at was like Salvador Dali, who I was mad about, and Andy Warhol, and that, you know, the leap was so big that you never ever thought that you would end up making a living out of what you were doing. And so I was always like, my family turned their back on me, you know, because I just went off and I was just seen as being a bit of a loser because I just went off and signed on the dole so that I didn't have to get a job, so that I could actually spend all my life, you know, all day making art. And it wasn't until I sold my first piece of work to Charles Saatchi in 1997 and suddenly had some money. I was able to go on holiday to Las Vegas. But it wasn't until I started making some money that my dad suddenly pricked up his ears and then came and like looked at what I was doing. So how, what was, going back to the question, what impact, well, I suppose it's that thing where you just want to, you know, as soon as I had some money, I was able to then buy something with it and buy myself out of the life that I had been born into. So I think that you make something crazy, you know, like our first ever shadow piece, which we thought we were embarrassed by, but we sold and made a bit of money. But and then you were able to buy something with it, maybe more materials, maybe some time to go and do something that you want to do every day. And so I don't know whether you. I've looked at a lot of artists that if you make something that people like, you carry on making that to make more money. So there is a bit of a trap there. I've used that in order to get myself, I mean, all I wanted to do ever was to buy a warehouse studio so that nobody would kick me out. So, you know, once I'd got enough money to buy a studio in Shoreditch 15 years ago, it was a good investment. But my dad would be very proud of me. But yeah, I think you know, I just wanted to, I don't know, I didn't follow the money. I just think I was lucky. Yeah. But anyway, it's about time I asked you a question.
To go away.
How creative can you be as chairman of an auction house?
That is a challenging question, and especially coming after you. But of course, you know, that does exist in my world too. And
I've been in your office, and it's full of art.
It's full of art.
By the way,
yes, it is. It always is. That's one of the great pleasures of working here, is you can have ever-changing pieces of art in your office. But you know, of course, it's very important because we here at Philips, in my home, do try to think, how can we do things differently, and how can we differentiate ourselves, and what are the real pluses that we have and can do more with. And you know, we have an amazing space here on Berkeley Square that gives us ability to do things that are difficult somewhere else, and that's actually quite fun and joyous. And I think one of the things that I love about Philips is the simple creativity that we work with this building. If you've come to see us a few times, you will notice that the inside and outside is really important to us, how we work with the street and how we work with the space inside, how we really think about each auction or each exhibition coming up, and we use color, we use words, we play to the fact that we have something quite wonderful to work with. it's exciting to be in an auction house that is 20th and 21st century only, and that allows us to collaborate and to work with each other and to try things out and to be flexible with it. It also allows for creativity inside the departments, and one department all around us tonight is our photography department, which is, by the way, all female here. They really do think, the team thinks every time, how can we do something interesting and new? And I love the fact that they might decide to focus on Portugal and really go and find the best photography galleries in Lisbon or in Portugal. Spend time with the galleries, look at who the best artists are, look at what the best prints from these artists are, and bring a focus section to London and give something completely new that we haven't seen. And love that kind of creative thinking that is so evident here. And I try and encourage it as much as I can in my role.
Can you give her one more?
Oh God, which is the best one?
What is the best one?
Combine
Come on. Sue, when do you have days that you don't feel creative at all? Do they exist? Do they exist?
Inside the burden of being an artist, are there days when one doesn't feel like creating?
Exhausting burden.
Football helps.
Going to see football, going to see football, yeah. I don't know, I like, are there days when you don't feel like creating at all? It's quite interesting, isn't it? Charles Bukowski said that we should just like stay in bed for 4 days staring at the ceiling, and I've not been able to do that just yet, but if I did, it would be still creative, wouldn't it? Because it'd be something that he told me to do, so...
No.
Can I ask one last?
You'll go on one last.
Right. What is the greatest challenge to creativity at the moment? Oh no, that's is that one you've given to me?
For you. It is a challenge, no? What is a challenge to creativity? There's so much going on right now. You have to keep thinking about yourself and what you can contribute. And I think that is not easy in a time when everything is so loud and so much noise. And we talked about this earlier. What do you think, Sue?
When's Leicester City playing Chelsea again? That's all I can think about.
It's all about time.